Thank y'all for joining me again, or joining us again here at Pursuit of Purpose on our podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
Today we have with us a very special guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Stven Murray. I'm 35 years old. I own Z3 Handyman and Remodeling, and this guy here helped me start my business.
Well, thanks for the plug. I didn't expect that. So since you started out with Z3 Handyman and Remodeling Services, what is Z3? What is that? How'd you come up with that name?
So, hang it. I have two kids. Zoe, she's our oldest, and Zach. We lost one in between. And I told my wife, I said, I need you to name the business. I don't want to be Stevens Construction, whatnot. You know, I need a name. And that's what she chose.
Okay.
I said, are you sure? Because people are going to ask. And she said, yeah, I'm sure.
All right.
I said, okay. So every time somebody asks, I bring it up, you know, I say what it is, and I'm good. So it's good.
All right. So the Z3 is named in honor of your all three children, the two you have and the one you lost. That's beautiful. That is an inspirational name for your business.
Very much.
So I'm going to ask you a crazy question. I noticed the shirt you're wearing has your company stuff on the back, and I also have seen you have this really cool cargo trailer, you know, all blinged out with your company stuff. How did you arrive at this color combination?
Just colors we liked.
Just catches the eye really good.
They're fluorescent. We like the colors, and I'm like, hey, let's advertise.
And I know you out there, our audience can't see his shoes, but his Hey Dudes, look at that.
Yes.
His Hey Dudes matching shirt. That's pretty crazy. So this guy came in full uniform today, ready to work. And we may put him to work here after the show. So we'll figure out something that he can fix.
Right.
So yeah, you mentioned about, you know, your wife and everything. What year did y'all get together?
We got together in 2005.
2005. How old were you guys when you got together?
15.
15 years old. Now, that doesn't mean y'all got married at 15, right?
No.
Okay. So that's when y'all started your relationship.
Those are counties we don't talk about.
Right. Yes. Anyway. Yeah. Well, you know, deep east Texas. Deep east. But so, I mean, basically Louisiana, you know, that's, you know,
right.
You know how it is. Those people from the other side of the border, bless their hearts. We're going to pray for them. But anyway, so y'all were high school sweethearts, and here you are 20 years later, still together. And you've never had a fight. Was that right?
No, that's not.
Yeah.
Went too far with the comedy on that one.
Oh, wait, no, you've never won a fight. That probably is right.
No, she always won.
There we go.
Smart man.
We are saving lives. And
yes. So 20 years in a relationship, 3 kids later, and now you're an entrepreneur.
Yep.
You have your own business. Man, I'll tell you what, that is quite a journey in life. I mean, it's hard enough to be married. Then it's hard enough to have kids. And then you added another layer on top of that with an entrepreneurial pursuit.
Which is like its own child.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Or it's like multiple children, especially if you have, you know, employees. Right. Because they're, you know, you can't just whip them and send them to their room.
Right.
They can disrespect you and not do their job and blame you for it.
Yes.
So
all true.
How long have you do what?
Then it's your business.
Right.
That's right.
How long have you been in business for yourself?
Since 2020.
Since 2020.
5 years.
5 years with the Z3. That is really cool.
Yeah.
And you blame me. I mean, gave me some credit for that. I appreciate that. But I want you to know, Stven, having been a part of your life and watching you basically grow up from a 15-year-old boy to a man, I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job. So if you haven't heard that lately, you're hearing it now.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. And it's documented, so the whole world gets to hear me say it. You're doing a good job. You've become quite a man. And that takes a lot in this day and age.
It does.
So I hope you're proud of yourself.
I am.
Good.
So out there in our audience, if you are in the Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana area, if you are ever in need of remodeling or a handyman service, towards the end of our podcast, I'm going to make you stay tuned, but towards the end, we're going to tell you how to get a hold of Stven, because he's not a lone wolf. He doesn't do this by himself. He's got help, and he can take on some pretty amazing jobs, and he does his work with integrity and good character. So it's hard to find a worker that you can trust. He may not know everything about everything, but he'll be honest with you and fair with you about everything that he does. So he is a rare find in this world. All right. So how was your childhood growing up? Where did you grow up, first of all?
Jasper, Texas.
Jasper, Texas. I'll tell you what, Jasper is a famous city, but not for great reasons. Jasper has made national news multiple times, and I can't think of a single time that it was really good reason to be on the national news.
Right.
So you're going to be something good that came from Jasper.
Correct.
Okay. So tell us about your childhood.
I was born at 30 weeks, 10 weeks premature.
He was definitely born at an early age.
I was born with what they call hydrocephalus.
Okay.
It's referred to as water on the brain.
Yeah.
I've undergone 25 total brain surgeries from then to now. From the time I was born until I was 2, I kept having issues. They couldn't figure out, okay, he's having bad headaches, he's throwing up. We can't get him well. What do we need to do? I'm sorry, let me back that up. 0 to 2, I was okay.
Okay.
2 to 4 was the problems. Throwing up, headaches. Mom said I'd go like 13 days and be fine, and then boom, was bad again. Turned out I needed a second valve put in.
So when you say surgeries, and I've gotten to be,
brain surgeries.
When you say brain surgeries, what were they doing to your brain?
They were putting in it's a valve. It's about this big, and it takes the fluid that will not naturally drain because of a blockage, and it takes it and it drains it. It used to drain it to my abdomen. Okay. When that valve fails, the problems arise because your fluid would naturally produce and reabsorb. Mine will not. So it balloons.
There's your pressure on your brain and all the other consequences that come from that.
And it does not take much.
I can imagine. It's a delicate little balance there. Yeah.
After all the years of having the valve, my tolerance has been, my brain's been like this, whereas yours will do kind of like this. Mine has been stuck like this. So now anytime it just barely moves, I feel it. It's what is called ventricles, and they're like rubber bands.
Okay.
Well, mine have been on the shunt so long that they no longer rubber band. Like almost like when you stretch it out, it's no longer stretchy.
Lost its elasticity.
It just stays put. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's in that tight. And so, is there other than the procedures and the other things that they put in? Are there other things that you can do to try to help not have so many issues, or you just kind of have to naturally just let the surgeries do their thing?
The surgeries have to fix it, and then if I can't get to the hospital or they can't figure it out, it's lay down in a dark room and just wait it out.
Oh, okay. And it just hope nature starts taking its course, and I got you.
So 2 to 4, they finally figured out I needed a second valve. They put the second valve in. I think when I was 8, the line broke, so therefore the problems came back. They replaced that. I didn't have another issue until I was 15. I had 3 surgeries then because they replaced the wrong one. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
They replaced the wrong one. They did 3 surgeries in a probably 4-month window. And then from then for 10 years, I was fine. Nothing, no problems. At age 27, the year of Harvey, I had 6 surgeries that year. It used to reabsorb into my abdomen. Well, I was working for a construction company. We were building the roads inside of the Nat gasoline plant in Beaumont. And I was standing there with the grade stick, holding it, telling the dozer what to do. And then all of a sudden, I felt like somebody just stabbed me with a sword and was just twisting it. I was on the ground crying. GC came over and he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know what's wrong, but I'm dying. I'm dying." Turns out I had a 4 liter of fluid cyst, and it was crushing organs because it had no more room to stretch skin.
And that's how we found that out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So doctors, I went to one hospital and they said, "Oh, well, it's because of all the old tubing they left down in there." Gave me pain meds, sent me back home. A week later, I'm back in pain. So I went to UTMB, which is where I was born, where I've had all the surgeries. And they said, "Well, showing this CT here, you've got fluid here that not supposed to be there."
Right.
I said, "Well, what's the fluid?" They said, "All of this." I said, "I thought that was an organ." He said, "No, that's covering your organs."
Wow.
Yeah. So they moved it up. No, they moved it over. Didn't work. Created another cyst. They moved it up. Created another cyst. I couldn't even eat when it got right here. Like I'd take 2 bites and I'd feel full just because it was packed on top of my stomach tract, I guess.
Don't get any ideas, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Weight loss surgery.
No.
It's not the way to go.
No, it was very painful.
Yes.
And for those of you in our audience who don't know, he used some acronyms there. He said UTMB. That's University of Texas Medical Branch. It's a research hospital that we are so very fortunate to have in our area. It's in Galveston, Texas, and they do some pretty amazing work there. Case in point.
Yeah.
So it's a very fortunate thing that Stven was able to be born there and able to be taken care of there over time, because they are the type of facility that will keep experimenting on you until they figure out.
I mean, basically, they study there.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing. If you have a research hospital in your area, definitely show some love to them, because it's places like that that save lives like this.
Right.
And I'm glad they were there, because, if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have got to meet you.
I mean, if you go places that don't know, they'll just, we don't know.
And kill you in the process.
Or tell you to go somewhere else.
Yeah. So anyway, how did they get that resolved completely?
So there's 3 types of shunts, which is the valve. VP, which is ventriculopleural, ventriculoperitoneal. It goes into the abdomen. That's what I had that stopped working. Okay. Then you have VA, which is ventriculoarterial, which goes into the bloodstream. Okay. And then you have VPL, which is ventriculopleural, which goes into the lung. Oh. Okay. So they put in a VA. And then they put it into my jugular here. You can probably see it on camera. You can still see the old line. It got infected, and I had to go into the ICU for a week. They had to take me into surgery, take it out, put in an exterior drain. I was on a fake shunt for a whole week while they got rid of the infection. Then I had to go back into surgery, and they put it in the other jugular. I forget how long I had that one, but with it going directly into my bloodstream, every time I stood up, it would rush into my bloodstream and cut off oxygen flow to my head. Wow. I got dizzy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So that's funny, because the head neurosurgeon that I was seeing at the time said, "Oh, well, dizziness is not a symptom. I've been doing this for 30 years. I was 30 years old at the time. I said, "I'm 30 years old and I'm telling you it is." Right. Just because you hadn't seen it don't mean it's not true.
It doesn't mean it's not there. That's right.
I've had 25 surgeries, so trying to remember each little detail.
Yeah, no, that's not necessary to remember each one of them.
So what procedure did they eventually settle with that seems to be working?
So they ended up taking the VA out, getting it out of my bloodstream, and they've got in the VPL, and it goes like this and loops into my lung cavity.
Okay.
Not my lung, the lung cavity. So it basically pumps it in around my lung.
Wow.
And it's working.
Okay.
So your body's able to absorb it from the sac around your lungs.
Yeah.
So and it just expels it like normal fluid in the body as it should to some degree.
I guess.
Like we might do.
I haven't noticed any.
How long's it been since they put that one?
2018.
Okay.
I think 2019. I have had another surgery recently, but there was something wrong with the valve, not the line.
Okay.
So they just had to change the valve.
Okay.
But with all this, I'm sure you have people that say, oh, my knee's hurting, the weather's coming. Yeah, I can feel it in my head.
Wow.
And I can usually know the day before the storm comes.
The barometric pressure change really affects you. You know, that's something we didn't think about. We've had other guests on the show that have had brain, procedures. I would love to go back and ask, of them if they had that same experience.
Yeah.
So, Greg Bostwick is great. Don't get me wrong. That's one of our local celebrity meteorologists. He's like everybody's favorite, but Stven might be more accurate.
I'm telling you.
Because he's got the internal, feel it coming.
I mean, I argue with people. It's not going to rain. I'm telling you, it's coming. No, it's not supposed to rain. I'm like, okay. Next day, rain.
So let's see if we can get a little prognosticating going, and he can say, okay, the pressure's going to drop to this. We're going to get this many.
Right.
It should be done in about, about 32 hours.
Not that accurate.
So you've been on a journey with your body, basically a battle against things that you've had to deal with. How has that impacted your life as a man and your development? I mean, this has been going on since your childhood and throughout your entire life. And, a typical, especially here in Southeast Texas, a typical Southeast Texas male is expected to get out in the heat. Were you able to play any sports in school?
Couldn't play head contact.
Okay.
Anything else I could do. I did play soccer. Doctor probably wouldn't have liked it. I just didn't headbutt the ball.
Okay.
No football, though, ever. Never played football.
No boxing.
No boxing. No blows to the face.
That's why his wife wins all of the arguments, because if she has to tell him twice, there's going to be, some smacking around.
Right.
So he never makes her tell him twice because he can't have any, head contact.
That's right.
Now I get it.
Yep.
That's why it's always, yes, ma'am. I get it.
Hey, it's self-preservation at this point.
Yeah. So how has that impacted your development into working and developing a career and now a business? How has that, have you had to constantly make adjustments to what you do professionally?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, do what I got to do.
It's just your way of life. Yeah.
I mean, I could look at it like, oh, poor pitiful me, but
wouldn't do you any good.
What's that doing for anybody?
Right.
The way I look at it is, God gave you this, deal with it.
Well, that's the right attitude.
Make the best of it.
Find the opportunities you can.
Make the best of it. And I've done everything I can to make the best of it. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks.
From time to time.
But I'm just me.
There you go.
So recently, you and I go to the same gym.
Mm-hmm.
We both go work out together. We're not going to advertise for that gym, but we are going to talk about the idea of physical fitness, being healthy. Before the last few years, you weren't all that healthy physically. Would you agree with that?
No, I mean, I was back and forth in the hospital, so it's like, couldn't eat. Okay, I'm going to eat.
Right.
Oh, can't eat again. Nope. Nope. Oh, yep. Now you can eat.
So you got inspired somehow or another. You got inspired to get your body under control, and you started working out some time ago.
Well, I've been working out since 2018, but I wasn't eating right.
Right. So you decided to get your body under control. How have you noticed an impact, positive or negative? How have you noticed an impact internally on how you feel
you're going to love this. I don't think I've told you this.
No, that's why I'm asking.
My headaches have very much subsided.
You haven't told me that, but I've noticed your activity has increased.
Nice.
Well, I mean, used to, they were constant. Just, I would just have to deal with it. But I got into more of the physical fitness, the right diet, doing the right things, staying hydrated.
Yeah.
And for a while, the headaches completely went away. Here lately, we've had some crazy weather, so I guess it's just kind of okay, I can't keep up. But before, with the weather we've had, I'd have been down for at least a day. Now it's just like, head hurts. Okay, I'm going to work.
Push through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great testament.
That's great.
I've lost 25 pounds.
Yeah, I remember when you were a younger man. In fact, in all transparency out there for our audience, he actually worked for me for a period of time. I put him through some pretty severe punishment out in one of my endeavors. Was pipeline right-of-way business and mowing right-of-ways. And then I had, we did demolition and land clearing and things like that. And it was constant out in the heat, hard, hot, sweaty, physical work all day.
Right.
And I didn't realize just how inappropriate that was for poor Stven, but he went through it and he did it. He kept a positive attitude about it the whole time. It was pretty inspirational. And then, and at that time in his life, he wasn't all that physically fit because of all the things that he was having to deal with. And he wasn't eating properly. And so he was just miserable, poor guy. But looking at him now, he's in at the gym that we go to, he's in a transformation challenge. And what inspired or what prompted us to do this interview now with you, he posted a picture in there. And with his permission, I'll share it with you guys in some of our promo stuff that we're doing for his interview. But he has truly transformed himself physically, mentally, and I would wager probably spiritually too. But he has become quite a story, quite a transformation of a man. And I'm very proud of you. Yeah. So what advice, let's say that somebody out there, you're a young guy. You really are. You're very young. You got a lot of life. You got more life ahead of you than you have behind you, which on our show is not always the case.
Right.
What advice might you have for somebody that's like yourself, young, but experiencing some physical difficulties? Like, would you have any advice? Not that all physical difficulties are the same, but.
Well, in that 6 surgery window that I told you about.
Yeah.
My mind went way far off because I would get better and I'd get worse. And I'd get better and I'd get worse, and I couldn't win. I couldn't get back to work. I couldn't. And I mean, at the time, I was working a normal, everyday W-2 job.
Right.
Didn't have my business, so I couldn't get fit enough for the doctor to say, "Oh yeah, he's good to go," without something else happening and starting over. So I got very depressed,
discouraged. Absolutely.
Yeah. Tried to file for disability because obviously I needed it. Couldn't get it. I don't recommend anybody goes that route because it's a pain. But basically, I just told myself, okay, you no longer have a choice. You just got to figure this out and do it. And never look back.
So advice for someone else would be stay committed.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
There's always a reason to keep going.
So with all this going on, how many times have you had brushes with death?
With the surgery?
Yes, your condition. Could you have died?
Every time I went under the anesthesia.
And that, but also with the fluid causing pressure around your brain.
Well, something I didn't tell you is they said that my brain is 76% gone. from the time I was just older than an infant till the time I was 4, I went to physical therapy because they had to retrain parts of my brain that yours are probably dormant. But that's
been that
all
way my whole life. My wife tells me all the time that, mine definitely doesn't work.
Well,
are you brain dead?
Yes.
huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Steve.
Anyways, they had to retrain what was left to do the things it does. They told my mom he'll never walk, talk, or tie his shoes.
Aren't you glad you proved him wrong?
Wow.
Look at you. He still can't tie his shoes. He's wearing Hey Dude, so he came a long way, but that part stayed the same.
Maybe partially true.
Right.
What a discouraging thing for your mom, your young mom, obviously, because you were a young boy at the time, to think, and of course she didn't believe it. She's like, "No, my son will."
Yeah.
And thanks to her, and I'm sure your hard work and others, I'm going to prove that prediction wrong.
Right.
She said from age 2 to age 4, we spent 104. It was 104 trips to the hospital in a 2-year window.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot, and every one of them involved what do you call it when they put you in the hospital?
Admission.
Every one of them was an admission.
So that's, if you're looking at 600 something days, it's like 20% of those 2 years were spent in some hospital setting, procedures, and all the above.
Mm-hmm. Tests, trying to figure it out, saying there's nothing wrong, send me home, doing it all over again.
Wow.
And she said it was like clockwork. It was like almost like every 13 days. So I'd have a little bit of fine, you're good, and then terrible.
Right. Man.
Yeah.
So you, with all this that you've experienced, all these, countless brushes with what most people would consider brushes with death, is there anything you fear?
Nope. When it's your time, it's your time.
That's very good.
That is.
The only thing you're doing when you worry is hurting yourself.
So I'm going to ask you a crazy question. Do you consider yourself to be a success?
Yeah. I mean, everybody can always do better, but you can't really do better when you're doing your best. You're going to feel like you could do better, but if you're given 110%,
you always can grow.
You can grow.
That's right.
But if you're given everything you've currently got,
you're doing it right.
You're doing everything you're supposed to.
Very good.
One of the things that as I've heard, these major parts of your story, all the way to where you are today, obviously a pretty self-driven guy, pretty self-disciplined. I mean, just to work out alone. I mean, most people can't commit to that. You're committed to running a business and leading a family and those things. But here you are, a young child, preschooler, all the way to schooler, growing up in your home with all of these reoccurring, just recycling conditions again and again and again. But somewhere in the midst of that, your mom had to raise you because you're still going to be a little boy. You're still going to do little boy things. And would you say that she managed some level of discipline pretty well, or did I just give young Stven a pass? Goodness gracious, he's been through enough. What would you say?
You're about to laugh. She had 3 more kids after me.
Oh, okay.
Bless her heart.
My brother is 18 months younger than me.
Okay.
My sister was born in 96, so she's 6 years younger than me. Okay. And my other sister was born in 99. So.
And you were the first. You're the oldest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, she had her hands full.
She did.
I don't know how she did it.
So she didn't have a whole lot of time to play.
No.
Yes, I love it.
I've got a question for you. So, since we're talking about that, your childhood home and the siblings and whatnot, what was discipline like? Did you get a whooping?
Oh, yeah.
Did little Stven get whoopings?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever try to ham it up with your, but my brain, don't whoop me.
No.
That's,
I mean, so when me and my brother were little, wrestling was a big thing.
Oh, great.
And we tried it.
Yes.
Every bit of it.
Yes.
That's great.
That is.
So in spite of your physical, what would seem to be, challenges, you had a pretty typical childhood.
That's good.
That's good. And you were still a trailblazer for the youngers to be able to ride on your whoopings. They got to, You softened up Mom before they came along.
I still had to be the older sibling.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly right.
Yeah, we're the experiment. Yeah. They're the experiment. They're the ones that just sit in the background and watch it like, oh, don't do that. No.
Yeah.
She's going.
I wasn't terrible though. Now my brother, he got in a lot of trouble, but he's way better now. I'm very proud of my brother.
Good. Well, what are they up to these days? Your siblings?
My brother, don't quote me on it. I know he is made officer. I think he's a lieutenant in the Air Force.
Nice.
Okay. Oh wow!
Yeah.
He just got his pilot's license. He's about to fly by himself for the first time.
Excellent. Wow. That's awesome.
My sister, she works for the same company as my wife. She works from home. She just had her first child. Excuse me, not her first. She's in the same boat I am. But she has a little baby in the hospital, and she was born premature. She currently weighs, I think my mom told me this morning, 2.3 ounces.
Wow.
She was born at 25 weeks. Wow. So prayers that everything with that goes great, but she's very healthy.
Yes.
And she's actually gaining a lot of weight now.
Good.
Yeah.
And my youngest sister, last I checked on her, she's got a job with daycare. She's loving it. Okay, she was a waitress for a long time, and I don't think she really liked it, but now she's loving her job.
Okay. That's excellent. Very good. So you got a lot going on in your life, a lot of things that you're connected to. Have you ever thought about, this, as young as you are, you're going to be the youngest guest that I've asked this question of. Have you thought much about your legacy? And what do you want your legacy to be?
About what you leave behind?
That's it. Yeah. What mark do you want to leave on this crazy world?
One as good as my grandpa did.
Okay.
I know Jasper's not the greatest of town, but there's not a place you can go in Jasper where somebody doesn't know his name.
Jasper's not a bad town, not a bad community. It's just gotten some bad publicity for some bad behavior by some bad actors.
Right.
I know.
That's not the whole town.
Yeah.
But there's not a place you can go in Jasper for the locals that have stayed where people don't know his name.
That's awesome.
So I want that to be me. I want to be known for what I did, how I treated people.
That's good.
That is.
That's very good. So currently, you talked about Z3 and how was that born? Mm-hmm. How was your current entrepreneurial endeavor? How did that come to creation?
So, wow, here we go. There's still a lot we haven't talked about.
Well, yeah,
I just realized that. Well, I told you that we lost a child, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did not get to tell you that Zachary was born with a condition to where he was producing too much insulin.
Okay. Zachary is their son.
Yeah.
Their youngest son.
I'm leading up to the question you asked.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Keep going.
He was born where there was a lesion on his pancreas and it was creating too much insulin, causing him to have low blood sugar. It was eating up his blood sugar. And he was having seizures, basically. We couldn't tell because it just looked like sleep shakes. I don't know if either one of y'all have that, but like if I'm asleep, sometimes my foot will just kick.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. It wasn't full-blown seizure, but it was not good. He was in the hospital for a month at Texas Children's, and they had no clue what was wrong with it. What do you mean he's at the best hospital in the state and y'all don't have an idea?
Right.
Finally, this miracle of a nurse said, well, check his blood sugar. So, they checked his blood sugar and it had dropped. After they were checking it regularly, and then something happened. They didn't feed him. And she said, well, why are you still not checking his blood sugar? And they checked it, and it was not where it should have been.
Mm.
So that kind of gave him an idea. They moved him to Dallas. They removed half of his pancreas, and then he was better.
Wow.
He's been better ever since. But while all that was going on, I was working at Walmart for next to nothing. I mean, dimes. And we're barely getting by. She's gone with him to the hospital. We're kind of bouncing Zoe around. People are taking care of her. I'm trying to figure out how to take care of her and work and do all this. And I called Alyssa one day and I said, maybe I think I should go into plumbing. She's like, I don't care what you do, just keep the money coming in. I'm dealing with this. I'm away. So I did that, and I got into plumbing, and it was all fine until the surgeries had to come back, and then I couldn't do it anymore. Well, I had the knowledge, and I went out and I helped iConnect Outreach. They are a ministry. I say are. He's still out there, that rebuild homes after Harvey for victims that didn't have insurance or couldn't afford it or had their insurance money stolen by greedy, nasty contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And when COVID showed up, they pulled his funding, and he said, I'm sorry, guys, I can't do this anymore. I don't have funding. I have to part ways with you.
Right.
I said, well, if Robbie can run a business, I can run a business. So I opened up Z3.
Nice.
After watching you all those years, I figured I got to be able to make it happen.
Well, you did, and you are. Very proud of you.
Yep.
Very proud of you. So that's really cool.
Isn't that interesting how things just incarnate like that? Like this is not enough. I want to do more. That's how you got into the trade, got into plumbing, which just led to all these connections. And then here you sit, man. Yeah.
Well, they brought me in. They wanted some help with the plumbing side of it. And I just took all of their contractors' knowledge and just asked a bunch of questions. Like, hey, show me how to do that. I'm done with what I'm doing. I need to know how to do that.
So have you, I mean, this may seem a little crazy, but have you paid that forward yet? Have you found anyone else that you could bring on that you can answer those questions to now?
Mm-hmm.
Some mentees, if you will, that you can help mentor
I've had
and develop.
Several people that I've brought in and showed them things, and not everybody has the yearning that I had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do continue to try to do that.
Good.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. I encourage you to do that because there's no greater reward than to watch the investment that you put into another person come to fruition.
Right.
I know. It's a little aggravating sometimes when you want them to want it and they don't.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
That word you said a second ago, yearning, you can't impart the yearning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can offer them the guidance, you can offer them the mentoring,
right,
but you can't put the yearning inside of them.
That's right.
No, you really want them to want to be there, and they really most of the time just want a paycheck.
Sometimes that's the case.
Like, okay, I'll do the job.
Right.
Well, that's amazing. That is amazing. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or have you thought that far ahead?
I have, and I'm there. In 5 years more?
Yes, from now.
I'd like to be further along than I am. I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy every minute of every day.
Good.
So trying to imagine the way I make my business is I'm just trying to make a living.
Okay.
So to want more than just a living, I feel like I'm wanting too much.
Well, I'd love to challenge that thought in that. When you learn to want more and when you learn that it's okay, to want more. You actually open yourself up to offer opportunity to other people. And as we kind of alluded to a few minutes ago, you will find the greatest fulfillment in your whole life through building opportunity for other people. And I think that that's seasonal. It's not the right time for everyone all the time. And that season for you will likely come. And I would predict probably very soon. Maybe you'll be able to feel the weather change in that regard.
Here we go. Jokesters away.
Yeah,
that's it.
So, how many people work for you now?
It's just me and one other right now.
You and one other.
I mean, that and Alyssa and the kids will come help me on some jobs. That's fun. We did that Saturday.
So it's the Von Trapp family, you know.
Yes.
That I don't know if you're so young, you may not even know what the Sound of Music is.
I know what Sound of Music is.
Okay. But so you've got, huh?
You kidding?
Well, I don't want to make any assumptions, but so you've got an opportunity that you can actually bring your entire family in with you.
Now. I mean, I don't do it all the time. The customer's got to be comfortable with it, but yeah, no, if they want them to come, I'll bring them.
We've had guests and others come on and what you're doing with your children, they attribute that to their success. Like my dad used to take me with, say, get in the truck, we're going to work, or my grandfather. And all those many years later, all those little connections and those knowledge, all that just came together, you know, and so you're planting seeds in your children right now. They'll, no matter what they do with it, they'll know, you know, and maybe could be a career opportunity for them one day.
Well, we just had a discussion with Zoe last night, actually. She's like, how much did I get paid for Saturday? I said, well, I mean, how much do you feel like you were worth that day?
I love that question.
I said, she worked really hard that day, but I wanted to know what she thought it was worth.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know. I said, okay, I don't know either. Well, what are you going to pay me? Money. Well, how much? How much do you think it was worth? She wouldn't tell me. I said, okay, well, you know, your boyfriend makes $10 an hour. You good with that? No. I said, well, then you obviously know what you're not worth. I said, so what was it? And she finally came up with a number. Okay. I was like, okay, you know your worth. Thank you.
That's good. I love
good lesson, Dad.
That was a good lesson.
Good lesson.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this, that right there is part of you building a legacy in your kids.
Yes.
And that's beautiful.
Yes.
So very good. And that also brings us to another, I have a question about this. What sort of person are you to work for?
You mean as in a slave driver?
I don't know. That's your word. I didn't say that.
I'm not a slave driver.
Are you a boss or a leader? And do you know the difference?
I usually end up taking over. Because I have a hard time letting go of the reins. And I will admit that.
That's okay. I'm glad. I mean, that's good. It takes some time to learn to delegate effectively. And that's okay.
I got to learn to train and not take over.
Yes.
I am doing a lot better at it. But when I first started having helpers and just didn't pass off any of the knowledgeable work because I was worried because it was my business. I have gotten better at it, but I try to oversee the process of how it's going. That way, if we have to back up, we don't have to completely back up.
Right.
Well, maybe some of that approach is part of that 5-year goal plan. Yeah. And as we were talking about earlier, 5 years to now, not 5 years to then. So we'll see.
Well, and if you'll let me, I'll give you a little rule of, I hate this expression, but a rule of thumb. If you have a person that you're training or mentoring, and you find that they can accomplish a task at least 80% as good as you, then you can delegate to them. And then that 20% is simply quality control. You're going back over it after the fact, inspecting for the 20%. But if they can do the 80%, you can let go.
And that's how it went Saturday.
Good.
My guy was with us, and I had him putting in some can lights, and I said, this is how I would do it. But, I mean, you're welcome to do it however you'd like, but this is how I would do it. And this is why. He ended up doing it that way, and he found out why. Because when you go to patch sheetrock back, I told him, I said, use this circle cutter because you got to go through the studs.
Right.
Use a circle cutter, and then you just put the circle back, and we'll float it. Versus cutting a long channel, and then
having to repair the whole thing.
Yeah. And he looked kind of confused at first, but he figured it out, and it was way easier.
Learning moment.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, thus far, you've been a great guest, and I think our audience is going to really enjoy this and getting to know you. So, you have handyman and remodeling services. What all do you do?
Well, that's hard to say.
Well, let's make a shorter list. What do you not want to do?
Roofs.
You don't want to do roofs.
No.
Okay. He doesn't need to be on a roof in the middle of the sun or any of that anyway.
No.
So do you do some exterior or mostly interior?
It's honestly about 50-50.
Okay.
Last year before last, we were building barndominiums. I had a guy putting the shell up, and he had plumbers, electricians, and he built the foundation, and we did everything else.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So is there any specific thing that you find yourself to be best at? What do you prefer if you had your choice?
Because my buddy Paulo has taught me so well, I enjoy sheetrock work.
Sheetrock work. All right. Well, I'll tell you, in the realm of construction and things, I'll let you have all that because that's my least favorite.
Right.
So kudos to you, my friend.
You don't like painting with mud?
I don't like any of that stuff.
Nice.
I don't like the feel of it, the texture of it, the smell of it, the look of it, any part of it.
Right.
I'll let you have the whole thing. But I love the look of a well done job.
Yes.
That's what I like. So that's good. Good to know. Good for the audience to know.
Yeah.
So how do people find you if they want you to come out and look at their stuff?
Call me.
This is your point for advertising. This is where you say, I am Stven Murray. My number is blah, blah, blah. Get a hold of me. I'll come handle your business.
Stven Murray, Z3 Handyman and Remodeling. My phone number is 409-782-5374. I don't have a picture of my trailer with me. I can put it up, but
it's all right. We'll put it on there.
I should get a shirt.
There we go.
Look at you.
Yes.
That's the best kind of plug. Look at this.
Look
at that. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
That's good.
That is so cool.
Get a good pic, friends, and call.
Very good. So we've got a few questions that we always end every interview with. But before we get to that, is there anything that we missed about your story that you'd like to add for the audience?
There's so much I don't know.
Well, it's okay. And the cool thing about it, especially for you as young as you are, you're still writing that story.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of story left to live. And I look forward to watching you do it. You've been a very important part of my life, a very good friend. I value you, and I'm very proud of you. So keep going. So I'll let Chuck, is there anything that you'd like to ask?
Yeah, my first question in our last few questions, you've overcome so much, of course, not just your physical things, but, just family and what have you. What impact would you say that failure in all of its different forms has had in your success?
Well, I've pretty much instilled in my head failure means keep trying.
Nice.
Failure doesn't mean you're done. Failure means you found a way it didn't work.
Nice.
I mean, look at the light bulb.
Right.
He found 1,000 ways it didn't work.
Yes.
1,000. Didn't give up.
Right. And that's been your own personal drive, your own personal motto. Don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the crazy thing was when Edison was asked about his failures.
Yes.
His answer, do you know what his answer was?
No.
We just so happen to be sitting in a building named after him. We're in Edison Plaza in downtown Beaumont.
Yep, museum out back.
Yes. So when he was asked about his so-called failures, he answered, I didn't fail. I just learned that many ways
That didn't work.
that it wouldn't work. And they said, well, And then what happened? And he said, well, I just used up all the ways it wouldn't work. So eventually it had to work. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit,
Yes.
but that's what he said.
Yes.
He said, I ran out of ways to fail.
Yes.
So the amazing thing is, just like you said, in failure, it doesn't mean that you've lost or that it's over. It just means keep going, because eventually you run out of ways to fail.
That's right. That's right. I'm only left with the one that works.
That's it. That's it.
And then we go with that.
That is amazing. Have you anything further that you'd like to ask before I ask
No.
my? Okay.
Go ahead. You our last few questions, and I so enjoy these answers.
There's a couple of questions that we always end our interviews with, and you'll get to have those now. So, at your age, you're like we've said over and over, you're so young and you have so much life ahead of you, but there are people younger than you watching this, listening to this, that can learn from this. So if you could, what advice would you give to someone who admires your travel and your journey? What advice would you give to someone who wants to become an entrepreneur that may have physical hindrances or even mental differences that causes them to, see it as a hard thing to do?
Find the thing that you enjoy the most and make a career out of it.
That's good.
It is.
Kind of fits with the pursuit of purpose kind of thing.
Certainly
doesn't it?
does.
Yeah.
Certainly does. Thank you.
You will enjoy your life a lot more if you're doing what you love.
Stephen alludes to something that is one of our principal tenets here at Pursuit of Purpose. He says, enjoy, but I hear fulfill. You will find fulfillment in your life if you find the thing that you are built to do.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. That's good advice.
And do it.
Yes.
And make a lifestyle of it.
Yes. So the last question that I always ask each guest, and for you, it just seems like yesterday, but if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, the younger version of Stven, let's go to 14 and a half years old. This is before you and Alyssa were together. Okay. So this is way younger than what I usually take people. But my friend, you have matured much faster than many because of your journey.
Yeah.
So if you could go back to right before you and Alyssa, right before she roped you in, right before she, caged you up.
She's gonna
before you entered the Alyssa training program, what advice might you give your younger self that you could carry with you to help make your life better? If you could go back and just whisper in your own ear something profound, what might you say to yourself?
Trust God's process.
Hey, man, that's beautiful.
That is
beautiful.
I love that.
I love that. Trust God's process. Well, Chuck, have you anything to add?
No, just thank you. You're definitely an inspirational story, and thank you for being an overcomer for sure, and definitely thank you for being a dedicated dad. Man, we love that. A bunch of men sitting around, just the prides of our life, right?
Yeah.
And so, but no, good partner, good dad, and definitely dedicated to your craft, and to God's process. So thank you for that, man. It's been a pleasure.
Would you like to say any final words to the audience before I close it out?
Be the person you're meant to be.
Very good. Trust God's process, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate all of you out there allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today we've had with us a very special guest,
Stven Murray.
Y'all make sure to look up Z3 Handyman and Remodeling Services. Find them on whatever social media that you take part in, and we will share links to them as well. Thank y'all. Have a great day.